Hey guys, today I will be working on my second cleric video, and this one I will be going over Rift's newest cleric soul, which is Defiler. And I'm gonna if you've seen the first video I did, it's kinda gonna go the same way, where I talk a little bit about it, and then I'm gonna show some clips and explain to you what I'm doing in the clips. So the breakdown's gonna be, first, why Defiler? Why would you pick this soul? What's it good at? Then I'm gonna talk about how to use the soul and be effective with it. Then specs and macros, and then finally playstyle. Now the first category I'm going to talk about is why to use Defiler. Defiler is a unique healing soul in that it uses its links to keep people alive. The links are absorptions, and they take damage away from the person and deal it to you. Now Defiler is great and can be used to solo heal, but it really shines when it's accompanied by either a sentinel or a chloro to help kind of deal with the burst damage. Now, Defiler is extremely powerful, and in this next clip, I'm going to show you how powerful it is, where I have Lith tanking about 6 people, and I'm able to keep them alive by just using my link. Alright, so the second category I'm going to talk about is how to play Defiler. Now the main thing you're going to be focusing on while playing Defiler is your links. And they're off the GCD, so that means you can be switching them at any point in time. But you also want to be aware of not using a GCD to use one. So generally what I'll do is I'll hit explosive growth, and then in the meantime while the GCD is down, I'll switch my links. So you just want to be aware of that when you're doing it. Now to heal people, it's very simple. You have your little hot, which you can keep on people, but until you really get the 4-piece Warlord crystal, it's not that great of a hot. I use it to kind of keep myself healed, but generally it's only going to heal for, 250 to 300, so it's not great. But other than that, you have explosive growth, which is going to apply 3 stacks of foul growth to an individual. Now, and basically to heal them, you just proc it with Ghastly restoration, and then you also have loathsome restoration, and that's a spammable, so you're always going to have that up to proc it. And the other things you want to be aware of is at your 61 point ability you have unstable transformation. This is the most ridiculous power in this game, and basically if it's on someone, they're not going to die for 10 seconds unless it gets purged. It's God mode instantly, and it only has a 1-minute cooldown, and it's off the GCD also. So I try to save this to the last possible second. A lot of times it gets me in trouble, but generally I can get it off before they die. In terms of the buffs you're going to be wanting to use is first Chimera's Gift, then you have your health buff, Feast of the Fallen, depending on spec you'll have Healer's Blessing, and then finally Grief Blight. Other than that, that's pretty much the buffs you're going to have, and then generally the other things you're going to use are your bonds. And when starting out, I wouldn't look too much into them because you want to just get the basics down, and the bonds kind of just add something else to use, but they're also really fun to use at times. Now when somebody gets on me, a lot of times the first thing I'll do is throw Bond of Torment on them, and so every time they do damage it heals me, so that's really cool to use. And also if they run back into the group, you can spread it with Unholy Nexus, and so you get a lot of healing through that. But generally, when you're first learning the soul, I would focus on the basics, which is moving your links around, and then healing with explosive growth, and then triggering it with something else. The last thing I want to talk about is mana. A lot of people complain that Defiler is extremely mana heavy, and it is, but they provide you with a really great way to get your mana back. So Empowered Affliction is how you get your mana back, and you can use it and it restores mana and it damages you. So it's really cool because you can use it while moving still, whereas the Sentinel one you have to be standing still. Well, this one you really want to get kind of a timer in your head, because it's going to take your health for 5 seconds. So basically when you look in the clips later, you'll see that I usually keep around 2 to 3 stacks of this on me at all times, so that way my mana never goes below 50%. And it takes a while to get used to, but as you continue to play it, you kind of you'll proc it twice, and then you'll wait the 10 seconds and then proc it again. And so you're basically going to keep your mana up by doing this, but you gotta be proactive about it. You can't let your mana get all the way to the bottom and then try to move it all the way back up. You gotta, let your mana go down a little bit by healing, then make sure you use your GCDs to proc it, and then count to 10 in your head, or watch your buff bar and then work at it. Alright, so the third category I'm going to talk about is specs. Now the spec that I run most of the time is 61 Defiler, 9 Sentinel, and 6 Justicar. Now, the reason I go 61 Defiler is that I want Unstable Transformation, so every Defiler spec that I run has 61 in it. Now, the 15 points that you have left over can be used in a variety of ways. I choose to use them in Sentinel and Justicar, mainly because I want Healer's Blessing. I use the Sentinel Crystal while playing this spec because I don't have 4-piece, so it makes Healer's Blessing heal for about 900 every time I heal, which makes it great because I can conserve mana by just spamming Loathsome and Healer's Breath, and it kind of allows me to heal myself too a little bit better. And then I go 6 Justicar because I don't have great gear, and I want my health to be as high as possible, because the way you regen mana is by lowering your own health. So I don't want my health to drop below 25k at any point in time. So that's why I stack into Justicar to give myself some more health. And when I'm running around, I can run around with 32k to 33k if I'm not debuffing myself. And not only is that great for survival, but it also turns a lot of people away from trying to attack me. They're like, oh, I see that healer with 33k, I'm not going to attack him. So even though my gear's not great, it kind of turns people away from attacking me. And one of the biggest issues with Defiler is that you are pretty squishy if you're just trying to solo heal. So this makes it really great, especially if you're trying it out for the first time and kind of learning. Now the other specs I've used are, I think, 9 Justicar, and then I go into Shaman a little bit, and you're a little tankier, but you lose some healing. And the other spec I see used a lot is for 5v5s, and in that spec you're going to go 11 Kabbalist, so you get the second break free, which is the port, and then you go 4 Justicar for the extra health. So there's a lot of ways to use those 15 points, and it's just kind of preference, but this is the spec that I use and I love. So the fourth category I'm going to talk about is macros. Now, like my first video, my macros are very simple, and they generally revolve around cast itself things. So I have Explosive Growth cast itself and Ghastly Restoration cast itself, so I don't have to de-target my current target to heal myself. Same thing with Unstable Transformation. Now, the really cool thing I do have with this spec is macros that DFS actually provided on Do You Even Rift, and they are cancel buff macros. So let's say I put a link on someone, like Strente here, and then I decide that he's taking more damage than the 20% link, so I want to put that 30% one on him. Now, if you don't have this buff, you're not going to be able to do that. But if you don't have that macro, you're not going to be able to do that. But if you do have this macro, you can click this button, click the buff again, and then switch over to the other one. Now, the macro I have is provided here, and it's really good, and at first I didn't really understand what the purpose of it was, but the more and more I played, I realized that I'm basically throwing my links out at random people at the start, not knowing how much damage they're going to be taking, and a lot of times I want to switch up the macros depending on the priority of who's running in further, who's taking more damage, things like that. So those were really good macros that I found. Other than that, there's not much else you're really going to macro because the spec is so simple. Now the final category I'm going to talk about is playstyle. And this is kind of where I get to have some fun and show you some Warfront clips. Now the main thing you're going to notice about Defiler is that everything's instant cast, so you never have to stop moving. Unlike Sentinel, where you kind of want to position yourself in a place where you can cast, Defiler, your goal is to basically position yourself away from everyone, because you're pretty squishy, as you'll find out. You don't really have a lot of CDs to keep yourself alive, so you really got to work on making sure you can get out of any situation you might get in. So in this clip, you're going to notice me kind of just jumping around as far back as possible and kind of jumping in only to heal someone and then jumping back out as soon as I do so. Now I really try to use this log, and then I use this wall to get behind to make sure nobody gets on me. I want to stay in the fight as little as possible because I don't want someone tab targeting me to get on me, and I can be mobile like that because I am Defiler. Another thing you also notice is that I maintain my mana by just keeping stacks on me, and I'll count down and then hit it again once I get to that point. Now the second clip I'm going to put in is a little bit long, but I really wanted to put it in because it's a really good example of how to play Defiler and positioning. Now, it's not that exciting, but there's really not a lot of exciting things you can do with Defiler. It's just very powerful. So in this clip, we're getting destroyed, and it's a really small war front, but I get on a team with Nurse and I have Lith with me, so we kind of just try to make the best out of it. So basically, right off the bat, I know this warrior is trying to pressure me, so that means I really have to position myself as far back as possible and kind of just pop in. So right here, Nurse is taking a lot of damage. I hit her with Unstable to kind of get her back up, and then I back off right away because I know this warrior is going to get back on me as soon as I hit her. And sure enough, he does. Now, he's hitting me like a truck, so I know he's probably very well geared, and he's really playing pretty intelligently. He's trying to push me off and then come back and try to kill people on my team. But lucky for me, Defiler is pretty much set to do this because I can link someone and run away, and that link is going to stay on them. So even though he's playing like he should, it's not as effective as it would be if I was, a scent or something like that, where if he pressured me, I could run off. So right here, he hits me for like 15k, and I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but it hurts a lot. So I'm just running for my life, um, trying to pull him away from my team because I know he's doing damage, and as soon as he gets on me, I go back in there to heal my team. So Nurse is taking a lot of damage, so I pump her up with some heals. Let's taking damage, get him some heals, and I know this guy's going to get back on me soon. So what I'm going to try to do is get back in my position on this little wall over, or ledge over here. So I run back over here while I'm healing people, and then kind of just put my heals into other people and kind of see what happens. So you really, really want to stay as far back as possible in Defiler because unlike Scent, you don't have a run speed buff to get away. You basically, if you're not in a good position when somebody's on you, you're not going to get into a good position. You don't have any CDs to do so. So you really got to make sure you're far back and you just keep moving and maintain your mana. So eventually, nobody's really dying. I'm trying my hardest to keep people alive. Lith can't, I don't think he could take their healer down after a while, unfortunately, and this warrior keeps trying to pressure me, and eventually Nurse goes down, which is unfortunate, but they just have too much damage and there's only so much we can do. So yeah, this is I like this clip a lot because it's a really good example of why Defiler is so powerful. It's you're still very beneficial to a team even if you're not around the area. So yeah, just know that you want to keep your links on people and stay as far back as possible, and then just throw your heals, and you are squishy, as you can see from this clip. So this concludes my Defiler guide. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me at any time. I'm more than happy to help. That's what I'm here for. My name is Mustache Rides with a Z at Seastone, and I hope to see you guys in some Warfronts. And special shout out and thanks to Lith for queuing up with me and helping me get some of these clips, and then also Strente, because I know if I didn't thank him for helping me with the macro section, he would be really upset. So yeah, just hit me up if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.